President Trump heading to Capitol Hill to huddle with the GOP House leaders ahead of the crucial vote today.
I think we're going to see a real strong vote because our members are focused on passing this bill.
America is back, and the future has never looked brighter.
No more apology tours. No more saying we're the problem, America's the problem. American leadership is back.
We're introducing articles of impeachment to remove President Trump from office.
It's wrong for a bunch of reasons, politically, strategically, even legally right now.
The Uranium One story is nothing but a false charge.
My client, who was working undercover with the FBI. He has all kinds of evidence, and we're working through it.
Ivanka Trump tells reporters about Alabama Senate candidate Roy Moore, quote, "There's a special place in hell for people who prey on children."
If Judge Moore is elected, the Senate must seat him.
ISIS threatening the Vatican, promising to shed Christmas blood. The terror group circulating this poster online.
Chris Brown, Turn Up the Music, live from New York City. It's Fox and Friends. That's why we've got all those logos all over the place.
You wouldn't expect to see Chris Brown looking at him to sing that high. Am I right? I mean, doesn't he sing a little high?
When you look at him, you don't expect him to have that voice.
Yeah, more of a...
I can see that.
Right, very high. Shows great versatility.
There you go. Quite a performer.
Right.
All right, well, turn up the volume and get ready because you're a week away from Thanksgiving, and we have some big stories in store for you this morning. President Trump heading to Capitol Hill today. He's going to be huddling with all the Republican House leaders ahead of that crucial vote today.
And the goal on the Republican side, passing their sweeping tax bill before Thanksgiving.
Griff Jenkins is live in Washington with the details. Can they pull it off? First in the House, Griff.
In the House, they're going to do it, Brian. Good morning, guys. There's a lot of excitement on the Hill, and I just spoke with one of the members of the Republican House leadership, and she tells me, look, the president was coming up there to do a pep rally to get the votes, but they have got it. The whip there, Steve Scalise, very confident they're going to be easily past that 218 threshold into the 220s, maybe more. But, hey, that did not stop Democrats who lack the numbers to stop anything from holding a Kill the Bill rally.
Kill the bill. Kill the bill. Kill the bill. Kill the bill.
They better kill this bill, or we're going to kill them in the next election.
But over in the Senate, the Finance Committee continues to mark up their version of the bill, expected to pass out of committee and reach the floor for a vote after Thanksgiving. And already one Republican, Senator Ron Johnson, says he's not on board.
I wouldn't vote for this Senate version. Bottom line, there's a real problem here in terms of the equitable treatment of, pastor entities.
That's trouble for GOP leadership, considering they can only afford to lose 2 votes, and failure, according to Senator Lindsey Graham, would destroy the Republican Party.
Whatever's wrong with this bill, we got to make it better, but if we fail, we're dead. If you want to destroy the Republican Party, fail on tax cuts.
Making matters even worse, 3 others, Senator Susan Collins, Jeff Flake, and Bob Corker, appear to be still on the fence. So it's going to pass in the House, it looks like today, but problems in the Senate, which will be after Thanksgiving, guys.
That's an understatement. All right. Griff, thank you very much.
Senator Susan Collins weighed in and said, that mandate thing, the repealing the mandate to give people an option whether you want to enjoy insurance or not and not get fined? She says, that, I don't like that. So if that's in, I'm out.
Why doesn't she like that?
To give people freedom to choose. I mean, I'm being sarcastic, but she doesn't like that because she feels it'll hurt Obamacare, which she voted against.
Well, maybe that's just her way of negotiating. I think when Ron Johnson says he doesn't like the way they treat corporations under this, and corporations are treated much differently than small businesses, because when you're a pass-through filer, you oftentimes file at the personal income tax rate. Under the plan that they're going to vote on, corporations would file at 20% and pass-through filers, small business, at 30%. He says that's not fair.
If Bob Corker doesn't do it, it's pure personal. no doubt about it, and he's got to get over it.
What do you mean?
His animus towards the president, to have that dumb hearing the other day saying, should the president have the power to have the nuclear codes, is a flat-out insult to the president, which didn't resonate. And if he votes against this, he's not voting his conscience. He's voting because he has a personal problem with the president, in my humble opinion. Number two is, if Senator Lindsey Graham wants this passed, he should talk to John McCain. He's got the most sway with John McCain, period. So if he says it's the future of the Republican Party in the balance, he's got the power to sway John McCain.
Well, ultimately, they're going to start to take it up later today. Paul Ryan is going to be joining us. Of course, he runs the House, and he will be with us very shortly. Kellyanne Conway is going to be with us to talk taxes as well very shortly.
We'll ask her which plan the president supports, the House or the Senate one. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton, she was speaking. She had an interview with Mother Jones, and she was responding to that potential special counsel. You have a lot of Republicans that are saying this really needs to be investigated. Why are they investigating this president and they're letting Hillary get away with it? Well, she commented on that. Listen to this.
This is such an abuse of power, and it goes right at the rule of law. If they send a signal that we're going to be like some dictatorship, some authoritarian regime where political opponents are going to be unfairly, fraudulently investigated, that rips at the fabric of the contract we have, that we can trust our justice system.
So it would be an abuse of power, she says, if there was a special counsel. Now, here's the thing. We just had on an hour ago the attorney for the confidential FBI informant who told us that he was working with the FBI and he was paying these bribes from the Russians to the Americans to get this deal done. And in fact, she said, Victoria Tenzing said, that the FBI director knew about it. And according to the handlers for this guy, the president of the United States was being briefed on it as well. So if you got the FBI director and the president who knew about it before the deal went through, it's like, wait, they're trying to corrupt our system with cash and they didn't stop it? That's why there should be a special counselor.
Well, if she is saying that she doesn't want the special counsel because it's an abuse of power, if she thinks that she's innocent, then she has nothing to worry about. But she goes on to talk about how this needs to be a rule of law, and we need to be a country of laws and not to have this dictator come in and have special counsels. Meanwhile, she's the one that broke the law. If we're a country of laws, she's the one that was in trouble for having that private server, for sharing classified information, for lying about how many phones she had.
Never got in trouble for that stuff.
True. Never got in trouble for it. That's what people have a problem with, the double standard here.
Right. Although the Freedom Council makes most people's eyes roll into their head because another special counsel, because they just seem to go on and on and on and tend to be political and get off course so easily just by the nature of the setup.
But that can't be a reason for just letting them get away with it.
But Trey Gowdy says, listen, let's the Justice Department do an investigation. He disagrees with Mark Meadows, who joined me earlier.
Really, we ought to take Hillary Clinton's own words. She said it's all about the rule of law, and indeed it is. So a special prosecutor would make sure they don't have a conflict of interest, have independent counsel, and make justice has a blindfold. Hillary Clinton shouldn't be above the law. We need to get to the bottom of it.
Well, and here's another. Currently, you've got the Attorney General and his top aides trying to figure out whether or not the FBI can handle this stuff. But Jeff Sessions, the Donald Trump campaign for president, and Uranium One wasn't issued during the campaign, and that would disqualify him. There would be a conflict with that, and so that's why you would need a special counsel.
We just need to know. We just need answers. We're taxpayers. We need to have the answers.
I would love to see the coffers right now in the Clinton Foundation. It was doing such great work and was motivating so many people. They have so many connections. How's it doing now? They both are out of power and without political sway, or very little political sway.
All right. So once again, Kellyanne Conway is going to be with us shortly, we hope. In the meantime, we've got some news with Jillian.
That's right. Good morning to you at home as well. Let's get straight to the Fox News alert. A manhunt underway for the gunman who left a Baltimore police officer fighting for his life. The homicide detective tried to start a conversation with a suspicious person when that man pulled out a gun and shot him in the head.
My best guess is there's more than one other person who's aware that this callous coward with a gun in his hand shot a cop in the head tonight.
That officer is currently on life support. His name has not been released, but what we know is that he's an 18-year veteran of the force with a wife and children. 3 UCLA basketball players arrested in China, thanking President Trump for helping bring them home.
To President Trump and the United States government, thank you for taking the time to intervene on our behalf. We really appreciate you helping us out.
And this morning, President Trump tweeting, quote, to the 3 UCLA basketball players, I say, you're welcome. Go out and give a big thank you to President Xi Jinping of China, who made your release possible, and have a great life. Be careful. There are many pitfalls on the long and winding road of life. LiAngelo Ball, Cody Riley, and Jalen Hill accused of shoplifting in China. They're all suspended from their team indefinitely. Notorious mass murderer Charles Manson clinging to life at a California hospital. TMZ reporting the 83-year-old has been there for several days, and it's only a matter of time before he dies. Manson, who is serving 7 life sentences, suffers from severe health issues. He was previously hospitalized in January and sent back to prison. Some people say shopping is their religion, right? But one Texas business owner wants to let the Bible into his mall. The Texas man installing 10 Commandments monuments inside the facility. They are 8 feet tall and made out of stones, similar to what you're looking at on your screen. The owner says he isn't trying to make a statement. He just believes in the Lord's love. Let's look at your headlines. Send it back to you guys.
Well, there you go. And because it's private property, he can do anything he wants,
Yep.
I would believe.
That's right. Thank you, Jillian. Yep. Coming up, one atheist group thought that they shut down God on the gridiron, but their move just backfired big time. You're going to love this story.
And the Victoria's Secret fashion show in jeopardy. Apparently, there is a model crisis in the world of Victoria's Secret. We'll have details coming up.
An atheist group called the Freedom from Religion Foundation proudly stating that they, quote, put an end to a Georgia high school coach's practice of praying with his players. But players and students took a stand for what they believe in, supporting their coach, and prayer did prevail. And even though the football season is now over, there will be a community prayer rally tonight at the school stadium hosted by the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Now, joining us now with his reaction is East Coweta High School football coach John Small, which is in the around Atlanta or in that area. Thanks so much, Coach, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So tell us what happened at your school.
Well, a few weeks ago, we were approached by an outside organization that had filed a complaint to our county about our prayers there with our football team, student-led prayers, and so they had asked us to follow the law on that, and the county had sent out a memo, and the county supported us 100%, but our response to them was that we understand the law, we're going to follow the law, and so it kind of started a little firestorm within our kids there.
Yeah, the district said that you weren't allowed to do this, that school reps cannot participate in any student-initiated, student-led prayer or other worship while acting in their official capacity. So the students reacted. As a response, what did they do?
Well, they're allowed to pray. We're allowed to pray. We're not supposed to be in the inner circle with the players, but we don't have to flee from the scene as coaches. And we're not doing anything different than a million other people in the country are doing. It's a practice by a lot of teams. Why we got selected, I don't know. But God has a bigger plan, and we've been able to see this plan go into action because our kids, they took a stance, and they requested that they wanted to go out before the last ball game and join the student section, and they had orchestrated it with them. And so instead of having 100 players praying, we had about 400 students praying, and also the fans.
So
I think they just stood up for what they believe in.
It ended up being a positive. You know, this is what gets me, and you're right, this happens all over the country. And you live in the South. I grew up in the South. This is a big part of our lives. Most people are in church on Sundays. It teaches us to be good people, and that's where we learn those values and our morals many times. So you have this group in Madison, Wisconsin, that has a problem with what you're doing in Georgia and what the kids are doing. Turned out to be a positive because they rallied more kids to pray. What exactly were you praying for? Because I would imagine it'd be a positive message. What's so offensive about that, and what do they have a problem with?
Well, you know, nobody's perfect. I'm the least of these. I don't deserve this platform that I'm in, but because of God's saving grace and his mercy, I believe we're put in different positions. So my personal prayer was just that our kids would see that we're in a spiritual battle. And it's not against flesh and blood, but there's a spiritual battle going on in our world today. And our kids know that the power of prayer is needed, and that they serve a higher power in our Lord Jesus Christ that can do all things. And I'm very proud of them that they took a stance that maybe not be the most popular decision, but they stood up for what they believed. And what the enemy means for harm, God turns to our good. And that's evident in all of our lives. And I'm humbled to be a part of it. And I'm just trying to be a vessel, but our kids have really stood up, and they've taught me a lot of things, too. So I'm very proud of our students, proud of our community there in Coweta County.
Coach John Small, thank you for being with us, and God bless you.
Thank you.
We have a Fox News alert. ISIS taking aim at the Pope. We are live with a sick new threat, promising Christmas blood. And Kellyanne Conway is live from the White House, talking taxes. That's next.
Why would we be showing shots of the White House to start this segment?
Because on the north lawn of the White House right now, she was a little delayed getting into the work today. We've got Kellyanne Conway, counselor to President Trump. Kellyanne, do you have a bottle of water nearby, just in case you get a little thirsty?
I do, and I hope it doesn't become a major news story since there's so much important substance to talk about. The president came back from a very successful 12-day trip. He's headed to the House of Representatives today to meet with the members about tax cuts, because he has leaned all the way into giving this country a historic tax cut. But yes, some of the entrances were closed today, so we ran around the building.
All right.
I'm sure people can comment on my hair, but we're really excited about tax cuts because even small businesses, I was an S Corp for 22 years. Small businesses truly benefit in this plan, in these plans. They have 17.4% deduction they can take on their business profits, 100% expensing for 5 years. That is really huge. And in addition to that, the benefits that we all will enjoy, doubling that personal exemption so that the first $24,000 in everybody's income as a married couple is subject to zero tax. The small businesses in this country, the mom and pops, will have the lowest small business tax
Kellyanne,
rate in 80 years.
You know that Senator Ron Johnson, it feels like, okay, the corporations are going to get their taxes cut down to 20%, but the S-corps, like you're talking about, and the pass-through entities, filers, they're going to be at 30%. And he doesn't think that's fair. It's like, okay, why would a big business get a bigger tax cut than a small business?
So that's why I led with the conversation about small businesses. I think it's incredibly important to see how much they will benefit. And the leaders of the small business groups, SBEC, NFIB, Chamber of Commerce, we've talked to them. They're very excited that they can go back to their members, the grassroots leaders all across this country, the moms and the pops who start before dawn and leave after dusk at their businesses, that we're very excited that they will have the lowest tax rate in 80 years. You can't argue with that. And in addition, when you reduce the corporate tax rate, you're stimulating growth in the GDP for everyone. It's estimated that with every percentage uptick in GDP, you're creating trillions of dollars in new wealth, many more jobs. And you see this president, 2 consecutive quarters of 3% growth already, even though we had hurricane spending, rightfully so, in the last quarter.
Kellyanne, a couple of things. You're talking to the American people now. You're also have another audience, the Senate. The House expect to pass it, but who knows? If it passes today, so you're talking to the senators. Like you, Ron Johnson had to run his own. So when he called up and talked to the Senate plan,
yeah, these conversations are very important. I myself addressed the Senate Steering Committee yesterday. Senator Johnson was a couple seats away from me. Was very happy to talk about their plan, the House plan, the president's vision, the 4 major principles he put forward for the last this entire calendar year, really, and that we talked through how the tax cuts would benefit most American households and certainly small businesses. And we respect mightily having a successful business owner like Ron Johnson in the United States Senate, because he knows firsthand what happens when you can cut down your regulatory and tax burden. You reinvest that money right back in your company. So for Senator Johnson, I would like to say to him, we want others in this country to realize their version of the American dream as aspiring entrepreneurs like he did, like I did. And again, people should read the features here. I want every aspiring actual small business owner.
So, Kellyanne, would you say it's true he didn't?
I didn't say that. No, of course he understands. He's a very smart man. But we're glad that he's bringing to bear directly to the president concerns that he has, making sure there's something in there for small business owners. 2 days ago, I was in New Jersey talking tax cuts at 3 different stops. And 2 of the stops, one was at a very successful small business. Those folks told us they're so excited they will actually offer better benefits, hire more people, expand their inventory. Then I did a roundtable with about 15 or 20 small business owners, and they had similar questions to Senator Johnson. I was able to show them the facts and figures in the plans. Actually, while I was sitting with them, the vice president happened to call me on a different matter, put him on speaker, and he talked to the small business owners and answered their questions. So we're glad these conversations are taking place. We want to make sure that the tax cuts benefit small businesses and large employers as well, because they're all job creators, and our job creators are the backbone of our country.
All right, Kelly, and hopefully everyone's taxes will go down, because that's what he ran on, and some of these plans are different than that. But let's move on. Let's talk about Roy Moore. There's some new allegations. Yesterday, some more women came out. Ivanka Trump was being interviewed with the Associated Press, and she said to that reporter, there's a special place in hell for people who prey on children. I've yet to see a valid explanation, and I have no reason to doubt the victims' accounts. Will the president be commenting on this?
Well, the president made a statement when he was in Asia, and he's been very busy here working on explaining to the country exactly what happened in his Asia trip. You saw that yesterday. He certainly is in touch with the different parties involved here. But at the same time, I'd like to say that I was the first person in the administration last Thursday when this news broke. I happened to be interviewed on a different network at the time, to come out against conduct as it was described, and I went a step further. I said, because I tried to make this an issue over a year ago on October 9th, 2016, when I talked about maybe when I was younger and prettier, folks on Capitol Hill behaving in such a way that that we should take a look at it fresh. I'm so glad the women on the left, particularly on Capitol Hill, are now coming forward and want to have hearings and are swearing under oath and getting people to come forward. That's great. Right. I tried to do it 13 months ago. Nobody wanted to listen to me because of the campaign I was managing. This is an important topic. But in terms of this particular issue, in this particular Senate race, I will not get ahead of the president in anything he wishes to add.
Well, Kellyanne, we do know that the balance of power in the United States does hang on just a couple of seats there in the Senate. The president apparently talked to Mitch McConnell on the phone. What can you tell us about that conversation? Because it sounds very clear Mitch would like perhaps Jeff Sessions to get out of his chair as the Attorney General and go back to his old chair in the U.S. Senate.
The President of the United States speaks regularly to the Senate Majority Leader. He speaks regularly to the Speaker of the House, who you'll have on in a few minutes. They talk about a wide range of issues. They've got historic tax cuts in front of them. They're working on deregulation. They want to implement some of what happened in the Asia trip.
But regarding Alabama?
Well, that certainly has been raised. But again, the president will make a statement when he wants to make a statement, and none of us should get ahead of that. I do find that the mainstream media want to talk about this issue more than almost anything else. And again, then we're not telling Americans what's in the tax plan for them. And if this is just going to be a war of sound bites, then the tax cuts plan will not be as successful. Right. Specifics drive support. And I'm sorry, but I think it's incumbent upon everyone who has a role and a responsibility to inform people what's going on Capitol Hill, to tell them what's in this plan. And that's what the president's going to do when he's up on Capitol Hill today.
And ultimately, maybe the lawmakers are benefiting from the fact there is less scrutiny on them to be able to go behind the scenes and roll their sleeves up and get into the details. But no one could marginalize the impact of a December 12th election, because a lot of people think that Roy Moore should be removed.
Well, and I'll repeat what our White House Director of Legislative Affairs said on a Sunday show. We were on different Sunday shows. Whatever the facts end up being, the premise is, of course, the principle, the incontrovertible principle, is that there's no Senate seat that's worth more than a child. Absolutely. And we all want to put that forward. I have 3 daughters and a son. Frankly, we all are watching this. But again, this president is so focused on the policy and the substance. He got the investments that he discussed, the trade deals he discussed, reciprocal and fair trade with Vietnam. Well, it's important. I mean,
I know,
it's
he's
just
up against the
glossed
break,
over
Kellyanne.
somehow, and he's trying very hard to make North Korea everybody's business across the international community.
Right, and Kellyanne, we ran his statement in its entirety yesterday, and we thank you very much for joining us live from the North.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, coming up next, Speaker Paul Ryan live. That's what he looks like.
Probably because we're going to go back down to Washington. We're going to bring in right now Congressman Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House. Speaker, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Ainsley, Steve, and Brian. How you doing this morning?
You're welcome. We're great. Thank you. We just had Kellyanne Conway on, and we were talking about tax reform and what the House is doing, what the Senate's doing. Sell this to us. Why is your tax plan? What is the benefit? Why do we need to change this? Because the president ran on lowering taxes for everyone. Now we're hearing that might not happen, that the rich might not.
He's going to his note.
Right. Yeah. Tell us.
I'm going to my postcard.
Tell us why this is a better plan than what we have now.
First of all, we're excited because we're cutting people's taxes and we're reforming the tax code to get faster economic growth and more jobs. That's what this is all about. Building a tax code to get economic growth. We have had 8 years, or about a 10-year slide of really slow growth. That means people don't get wage increases. That means living standards get stagnant. This will help us get to a 3% economy. What the Tax Foundation says about this bill, first of all the various analysis that are out there say that the average taxpayer in every income tax group gets a tax cut. Now, this is a tax code riddled full of loopholes, and I'm sure there's some wealthy people who have tax lawyers and accountants who can take advantage of just about every loophole out there, and when those loopholes go away, they're not going to like that. But the point of this is to make the system fairer, fewer loopholes, and just a level system and lower tax rates. Give middle-income families a big tax cut. The median household in America is going to get $1,182 tax cut. 78% of people are telling us in surveys they're living paycheck to paycheck in this country. Another 57% of Americans are saying that they're $500 away from desperation. So, look, this is a serious issue. We want to cut everyone's taxes. The analysis shows that the average taxpayer in every group does get a tax cut. And by the way, this is a work in progress. We still want to make it even better than it is right now when we get into the conference committee.
Mr. Speaker, Nancy Pelosi put out a statement yesterday. She said tomorrow.
Let me guess. She said it wasn't. She said nice, unkind things about this tax bill, right?
You know what? I kind of like
I just go down a limb here.
Speaker Ryan will ask House Republicans for a vote on a tax hike on 36 million middle-class Americans, families that is dead at arrival in the Senate. And she goes on. Are 36 million Americans in the middle class going to see a tax hike?
No. I don't even know where she's making that stuff up.
Is she lying about it?
Go to fair and simple.
Mr. Speaker, are they lying about your plan?
36 million middle-class taxpayers are not getting a tax cut. Middle-class are not getting a tax increase. Middle-income taxpayers are getting a tax. Look, just don't go to fairandsimple.gop. And by the way, let me just say it this way. If you're a family, your first $12,000 today are tax-free. Under this plan, your first $24,000 are tax-free. What that means is 9 out of 10 Americans will be able to fill out their taxes on a form the size of a postcard.
Right.
That's radical simplification. And then for everybody else in this country, we're lowering tax rates. We're saying the income you pay right now will be paid at a lower tax rate. But more importantly, this is about jobs and it's about wages. The Tax Foundation tells us this is going to create about 1 million new jobs. This is going to give wages, the economic growth alone will increase after-tax wages for average workers by about $2,500, and that's before you get to the tax cut. So just go to fairandsimple.gop, and you know, I'm sure Nancy Pelosi is doing everything she can to try and derail tax cuts and tax reform. We're very excited about where we are. We're very excited about getting this done. It's a promise we made in the campaign. It's a promise President Trump made in the campaign. And it's a promise we're delivering today.
Speaker Ryan, no one doubts how conversant you are with this. When we saw you on Simpson Bowles, we saw all those experienced senators and experts who said, who's this young guy from Wisconsin? He knows this stuff backwards and forwards. So everybody knows how well you know the budget. So how about this? Somebody you really respect is Congressman Peter King from one of the big states like New York. He says, things aren't equal. Things are not equal. We give $48 billion more to the federal government than we get in return. And that's the largest deficit of any state in the country. New Jersey, actually, percentage-wise, even worse. They give 61 cents back. They feel they're being hammered because they're in a big, high-tax state. What have you done, not for Peter or not for New Jersey, but what have you done for those people who happen to live there?
Yeah, we actually added back a $10,000 property tax deduction in addition to the tax cuts that are already in the bill that everybody gets. So we've actually run numbers on these districts and shown that taxpayers in those districts, in those states, still get tax cuts, itemizers and non-itemizers. Most people won't have to itemize. So what we've done is we added a $10,000 property tax deduction for these people in those high tax states. Everybody gets it, but it's really the high tax state people that would feel it the most, that deduction. And look, when it comes to these donor state issues, the wealthier states donate more because the poorer states get more federal spending. A lot of our spending is based on poverty, things like Medicaid. And so when the federal government is spending more money in spending programs for the poor, wealthier states with lower poverty rates don't get as much of that spending. And that's what they're talking about. So I would say to people who are donor states, Wisconsin being one of them, you don't want to do what it needs to be done to be a recipient state. That means you want more poor people in your state. We don't want that.
And Mr. Speaker, why are you convinced that you're going to get the votes today when guys like, when you haven't won over the Darrell Ices and the Peter Kings of the world? What do you think the numbers look like for you?
No, we feel very good about it. We've got the best whip in the world in Steve Scalise and Patrick McHenry. They've been working with our members. Look, everybody knows this is a promise that needs to be kept. And by the way, this is stuff we want to continue working on, improving the tax cuts for everybody, to make sure that this works for everybody, no matter where they are. And the analysis shows us that taxpayers in all states get a tax cut. So, look, I'm sure there's somebody out there that is utilizing tons of loopholes because they're wealthy and they have accountants and tax lawyers, and they don't like losing those loopholes. Right. But you know what? When you take away those loopholes, everybody has a fair tax code, and we lower tax rates for people, and we increase things like the per-child tax credit. If you wanted to, if the person watching TV right now wants to do the math in your head, you got kids, most taxpayers, your child tax credit goes from $1,000 to $1,600 per kid. That means another $600 per child. Your first $24,000 are not going to be taxed. You're getting lower tax rates across the board. And then on businesses, which are the wealthy people are the ones who pretty much own the businesses, we're dropping tax rates dramatically. We're going from 35% to 20% on corporations. We're going from over 40% down as near as 25%. For small businesses, and small businesses are going to get a 9% tax rate. And all of these businesses, every single one of them, gets to deduct their expenses of their plant and equipment. If they want to invest in their people by buying more equipment and factories, they can write that off in year one. That's never been done before like this. Okay, that's going to be a huge job creator.
Well, you're going to vote today. Would you like to predict the final tote?
I never do such things like that. I've been around doing long enough, but I feel very good where we are. We're going to pass this bill.
Great job on the town hall, too. Thanks for doing that.
Thanks. Yeah, that was great. It was fun to do.
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you, sir.
Speaker Paul Ryan, thank you.
Indeed. All right, 18 minutes now before the top of the hour on this Thursday. Fox News Alert, ISIS taking aim at the Holy Father. We are live with the new threat against the Pope, promising Christmas blood.
Plus, in the market for a new car? Well, Kelley Blue Book is here with some of their picks for 2018 next.